Great. So I think we'll get started. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today in the fourth session of the Future Ready Accountant series presented by Boma in the back room. And today we're talking about people and platforms, in particular, building a marketing engine that runs itself. My name is Charles Clark, and I'm joined by Scott Findlay of the back room. Hi, Scott. Great to see you again.
Charles, this is awesome. It's great to see you in the hot seat today, actually. And really excited about today because look, I'm not putting myself out as 100% marketing expert, but what I do know is how to make it work from overseas and in an accounting firm. But I'm really looking forward to hear what you've got to say.
Fantastic. And I gather you're not in country at the moment. You're overseas somewhere glamorous.
I'm over in Sydney at the moment, and it is very muggy at the moment. It is quite hot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Auckland for once isn't. Well, look, fantastic to have you with us. I'm aware of time and we've got quite a few slides today, so let's get into it. And here is what we're covering today. And we will move fairly quickly through the first few sections because where Scott and I really want to spend time is on the parts that are most practical and actionable for you. So that's specifically the framework, the execution gap, and what a working engine really looks like for a firm. So before we go any further, I just want to make sure we're talking to the right people. So let me describe who this session has been designed for. So if you're a partner or a manager or an accounting firm and marketing is something you know matters but keeps slipping off the to-do list, then this is for you. If you've ever started a content push and kept it going for a few weeks, then watched it quietly die when a big client deadline came in or the end of financial year, as is happening in New Zealand, looms up, then this is also for you. Perhaps you've invested in a marketing tool in the past and it's not been used anywhere near its potential. Definitely, this is one for you. And if you've ever thought, God, we really need to sort out our marketing, our client communications, but then haven't had a chance to do anything for it, maybe for sort of the second, third, fourth year running, welcome, you're in good company. And the point of today is we're not here to make anyone feel bad about wherever you happen to be. We're here because we think there's genuinely a better way to do this, and we want to show you what it looks like. Oh, let's see if I can get to the next slide. So let's start with that quick poll I mentioned. I'll launch it now. And if you just take a second to answer, basically, if do you have a marketing plan or a content calendar or a list of things that you've been meaning to do that hasn't been touched in the last few months? It'd be great if you could just take a few seconds just to answer that. And then we will address that a little bit later on in the slide. Oh, okay. So only one person's answered, or a couple there. So we're on top of it. We had one once, I think. Yep, I'm sure that'll be common for a few people. So look, while we wait for that to come in, I think I'll just tell you about the pattern that I see, especially at Boma. And this is, often like one of a partner or a senior accountant will go to a conference. They read an article online, or they get asked by a client, do you have a newsletter? Or I haven't seen any comms from you lately. And then maybe slightly guiltily, there's a burst of energy and good intentions. So marketing becomes a priority again. And what happens? Maybe a few LinkedIn posts go up, an email goes out, maybe a few blog articles get written, and then something happens. So in New Zealand, it would be obviously in a financial year, which is looming over all our New Zealand accountants today. Or maybe a big client needs an urgent attention, or someone leaves and they were looking after the marketing, so the marketing stops. And maybe it stops completely for a couple of months, maybe it's for 6 months. And the frustrating thing is that when you get around to it again, you're basically starting again at the ground floor. So the momentum is gone. And the audience that you had been starting to engage, even briefly, they, didn't really have time to notice that you were there. And now that you're back, unless you sort of make it consistent, they may not notice that you're back. So this isn't a story about bad firms or disorganized people. What Scott and I are really digging into is what happens when marketing has no structural home in a firm. And it lives really in gaps. And so by gaps, I mean early mornings, Friday afternoons, the occasional quiet week. And those gaps close the moment things get busy. And I'll just end the poll Just if we go on to the next one. Okay, so it looks like it's pretty equally split. So we've got a few of you saying it's judging me. Some are saying we're on top of it, and then a couple saying we had one once, I think. Um, but actually, I'm encouraged, and I'm sure you are too, Scott, to see that no one's had what
Yeah.
marketing plan to do list. So it definitely doesn't sound like there's an issue with desire to do something. It's just maybe around the execution. And I'll hand over to you quickly, Scott.
Cool. Cool. So yeah, the common pain points, and this is, we had this in our accounting firm as well, Charles. But the main thing is marketing sits with someone who's already overloaded. Classic is partners in our firm. Wayne took over it. He kind of liked it, but he wasn't great at it. Managers, your business manager or admin, are all sort of take over the marketing side of it and just haven't got the time to do it. No one wakes up thinking marketing is their main job, and no one owns it from end to end. Takes that responsibility. And also the classic problems is your tools are underutilized. Look, I even know at the moment with the backroom with our CRM, like we're probably only using 30 to 40% of it. So there's some massive gaps there.
Mm. And look, and I think, just adding to what Scott said, I think the tools problem is real. And I think, we will name it directly and call it out, and we will talk about it today. And I think, from what we've seen at Boma, most of the firms that we have conversations with will have tried marketing and some sort of marketing platform in the past. And the experience is pretty similar, and it goes roughly like this. A lot of initial enthusiasm. They do the research, they find the platform that they see will fit their needs, and then it slowly stops being used. And here's kind of the key point on this slide that we want you to take away, on top of what Scott just said in terms of, those common pain points, is that it's not the platform's fault. Obviously, the platform is only as good as the people who use it. But it's not necessarily your fault either. It's more of a structural problem. And the point here is that unless there's clear ownership, unless someone within the firm has part of their job description is to run it and operate it, it doesn't matter what tool you have, whether it's the most expensive whiz bang one in the world, it's going to gather dust. Um, but this is a key thing is that if you did try a marketing tool in the past, or if you've got one at the moment and it didn't stick or isn't working, maybe to the full potential. What Scott and I have really talked a lot about is the people and the process issue that this really highlights. So, you know, it's only ever a platform issue that I've ever experienced if you choose a platform which is demonstrably unsuitable for your needs. And the most common one that this is that you get one that is more suited to a very large corporation or an enterprise. And mostly they do put themselves out of the running in terms of price, but sometimes some of them will slip through. Some of the HubSpot ones, for example, they are incredible tools, but unless you really are a HubSpot expert, it's like having a Ferrari to drive down to the shops. You're never going to be using it to its full potential. So again, it's really about people and process, and that's what we're talking about today. So why does this keep happening? Why do firms which are full of smart and motivated people keep struggling with marketing? And Scott and I, when we talked about this, really hit upon the fact is that, marketing isn't often treated as an operational function. So if you think about all the other critical functions in your firm, or indeed if, in any business, so billing runs on a cycle, payroll doesn't miss a week, tax deadlines get met, even when it's hectic. So even when people are sick, even when it's the busiest times of year, these things happen because they're built into the operations of the business. And so by being built into it, they're documented, they're owned, and they're systematized. Now, in many accounting firms, marketing isn't any of those things. It often relies on goodwill. So the goodwill of someone, whether it's a partner or an admin, who has a spare hour or two on a Thursday afternoon or the weekend to do something. And the problem is that when you rely on goodwill to get something done, oftentimes whenever the business gets busy, which is obviously pretty constant in an accounting firm, the first thing that's going to drop off is marketing because it's the only thing that doesn't have a hard deadline or a client waiting on it. So the insight we want to talk about here is that it's not necessarily a marketing strategy problem for a lot of accounting firms. It's about the execution capacity problem. So the ideas are there, the intent is there, but what's really missing is a reliable way to get it done week after week without it depending on anyone's spare time or goodwill. And that's really what we're talking about in the rest of the session is what that reliable system looks like.
Thanks, Charles. Yeah, some great points there. So, yeah, how we solve this problem. Us as accountants, of course, the obvious thing, we just throw more effort into it, don't we? We just put more people into it and maybe let's work in the weekend and put another sort of 20 hours over the weekend into it. Well, obviously that's not the right way to do it, but that's sort of what we do. Or else we'll give it to the wrong people. We might have Karen in payroll who's got a bit of spare time, so we'll give her that task. Or again, we put it onto the partners. And as I already talked about Wayne, his time really is not best suited for going through and doing sort of marketing tasks. Sure, strategy, definitely. So the problem isn't the people, it's the lack of repeatable system they're working on inside. And we're going to say it's a bit of a theme, execution. So without systems, marketing stays really fragile, regardless of what you add. It relies on just people's energy, not a system. And what's missing is a repeatable execution model. Over to you, Charles.
Yeah, so if more effort isn't necessarily the answer, what is? And we're going to talk about today a framework which we call the marketing engine. So the idea is pretty simple, and that is that marketing should work the way your other operational functions work. So again, it's documented, it's repeatable, and it's not dependent on any one person's goodwill. And ideally, it's running in the background while so like the partners, the senior managers are getting on with that client work. And to build that marketing engine, you need the four connected components. And the first one is strategy. So this is the direction of travel. So what are you talking about this quarter? Who are you trying to reach? What does your firm want to be known for? And this doesn't need to be a massive, multi-page document. It can be a simple one-page, basic marketing plan with some content ideas. But the point here is that you do need it because if you don't have that clear direction, everyone's going to be busy, but it's not going to be directed and there's not going to be a coherent messaging. Okay, number two, the platform. So this is your marketing automation tool. And in our case, obviously, it's Boma's marketing automation tool. So your platform takes your strategy and makes it operational. So it's going to manage your workflows. It's going to automate your distribution across email, social, your website, and it's going to create consistency without requiring a lot of manual effort every time something needs to go out. And then people. And this is really the piece that most firms are missing. It's the one that we're going to spend a bit of time on in the coming slides. So executional ownership. So an actual person whose job it is to make sure that the marketing happens every week. Again, as we said, not someone else, maybe a partner, maybe an admin squeezing it in if they have time. So ideally, someone who wakes up on a Monday morning and one of their first tasks is to action that week's priorities, whether that's an email update to a segment of your clients, maybe it's getting that blog out, or maybe it's posting about something on social media. And then lastly is output. And this is really the result of the first three components working together is a consistent output. So this is content published, emails sent, campaigns live week after week. And that's irrespective of the time of year and how busy the firm may get. But here's really the really critical thing, and that is all of these components need to be connected. So if you've got a strategy but no platform, it's massively inefficient. If you've got a platform but no people, the platform will sit gathering dust. And if you've got people but no strategy, leadership from the top, they're going to be busy, but they're going to be directionless. And again, it will not be as efficient as if you had those. So most firms will have maybe one or two of these. And that's often what leads to a bit of frustration with marketing is that they know what they want to do, but they just can't seem to make it happen. And in the next few slides, we're going to show you what it looks like when all four of these click into place. So let's talk about the platform specifically. So I think there's can be a bit of a misconception about what marketing tools, marketing automation tools are there for. So a lot of people think that a platform is just a scheduling tool. So it queues up your posts and it sends your emails. And obviously, yes, they all do that. But if that's all it is to you, you're not going to be making the best use of its value. So at its best, a marketing platform, one like Boma, for example, is what takes your strategy and makes it operational. And we'll give you a bit of an example to talk through it. So say in February, you want to run a campaign around end of financial year planning. So in the non-platform world, that means that someone's going to have to sit down and write an email, and then send it out via maybe like their Outlook. Maybe they're going to have to log into LinkedIn and write a couple of posts off the back of that email. Maybe they need to turn that email into a blog article and then put it onto their website. So each of these is a separate task, and quite often we've seen it be done by separate people within the firm, often on different days, and sometimes one or more of them won't get fully finished because client work takes priority. So in the marketing platform, that campaign becomes one workflow, and especially a platform like Boma where we actually have the content library. So, for example, in Boma, you select the the article from the content library, you adapt it, you customize it for your firm's tone of voice and your perspective, and then the platform schedules the email, queues up the social posts, and publishes the blog. Ideally, all in one place, all going out at a time that you've chosen, and without anyone having to go into manual multiple locations to copy and paste. And the same thing goes with the wrap up of a specific campaign. Again, if you have a marketing automation platform, then ideally all the results from that campaign, so email opens, social media engagements, website visits, will be in that one place. And just to touch on the content library, if you're not familiar with Boma's content library, so that's kind of what differentiates us from every other marketing platform out there. So it's country specific. So if you're in Australia or New Zealand, you will see specific content for those countries. It's updated weekly and it's written by professionals. So they're not just content writers, they are financial journalists and they're accountants themselves. And they cover topics that your clients and their business is going to care about. So it could be anything from GST and tax planning to advisory services to growth to technology. And the point here is that instead of a team member staring at a blank screen, wondering what to write every week, they can just select and personalize and schedule the content that already exists. So a massive efficiency driver there. But overall, that's what any one of these platforms, marketing platforms, will do. It helps remove the manual effort and helps create a level of consistency, which is really one of the key elements of marketing, is that consistent activity. So all of these marketing platforms are genuinely powerful tools, whether it's Boma or another platform. But again, just having the tool itself won't fix the marketing challenges on their own. So we see it happen, actually, we see it happen in Boma, we see it happen with other accounting software firms that we talk to. So a firm signs up, gets set up and has great intention, and then 3 months later, um, there hasn't been that sort of consistency. So maybe it is if it's marketing, there are a couple of emails and social posts that went out, but then it tailed off, and that's because no one really owned that execution week in, week out. And again, as we said before in this chat, that's not a platform problem specifically, that's the people and process problem. And that can happen with every marketing platform. It probably happens with probably almost every SaaS platform out there. If someone's not actively running it, someone is not actively accountable to action the strategy that you've decided on at a senior level, then even the best platform can just become basically a nice piece of kit on your in your MarTech stack. Now, the great thing about automation is it's great doing things consistently at scale, but what it can't do is decide what it should do and make sure it gets done, and that still needs a human. And that's a slightly uncomfortable kind of reality about these platforms that they are a multiplier, but they need to multiply something, and that something is basically action by people. And My wife did question the example in this, but we're an equal opportunity household, and I'm the one who's most often filling the dishwasher, so hence why I went there. But if you think about a platform, especially a marketing platform, a little bit like a dishwasher, an amazing invention and saves us a huge amount of time and effort compared to washing stuff by hand. But it needs a human. It needs a human to load it, to put the dishes in, to add the tablet, and when it's finished, to empty it. So the automation does all the heavy lifting in between, but it doesn't remove the human role entirely. It just changes that role. So that's really the marketing, the relationship between marketing platforms and the people running it, is that the platform will handle the distribution, the scheduling, the consistency, and all of that stuff at all of that scale. But the person still has to decide what goes in, still has to manage the content, and still has to make sure that the content is both relevant and is aligned with the strategy that has been agreed by the firm. Now, the great thing with some platforms, but especially one like Boma, is that you don't need to be a specialist or senior marketer, and they don't need to be expensive, and they don't even need to be based in the same city or country. But what they do need to be is trained, and reliability is massive. And they also need to have, to be empowered to do the job or to do the role that you need week in, week out.
Charles, I love those analogies, and I'm going to have to use that dishwasher one. It's a cracker. Um, so where execution actually lives. So day-to-day execution tasks are what stop marketing from happening. So they need a clear owner. And that's someone who's on it all the time. Like it's and any of you people who have really found that if something's not working in your accounting firm, suddenly you put people's eyes on it and you look at it on a day-to-day basis, it works. It's starting to work for you. So it's kind of pretty simple. Campaign builds, content formatting, database management, performance monitoring are all sort of key things around it. This isn't senior work. All this stuff. It's has to be consistent. It's skilled work that needs dedicated ownership. But as Charles said, it doesn't need to be anyone of with 20 years university degree to be handling this stuff. And it's not a partner task. Yes, this is a perfect role for offshoring. And in the back room, we have quite a few, a lot of marketing staff out working for accounting firms around Australia and New Zealand. The execution and having ownership and reporting is just so important. So this role doesn't, it can be part-time, and it can easily be added to an admin role, but with the key thing being in charge of marketing and having someone on top of it. So just looking at the next slide, why offshore completes the engine. So again, it's not a cheap labor solution. It's just about creating the right execution structure, not putting a local employee into something they don't want to do. Just what I said to you about Karen and the in your payroll. I love talking about Karens. I don't know why. I apologize if Karens out there. In the Philippines, there is just fantastic talent around this. Great skilled people. I've talked about it before in all the previous webinars. Very loyal. Everything's great what they do, and very skilled. English skills are fantastic, but they will own it, and they've got skills, if not, well, certainly better than probably anyone else in your firm, and as good as anyone else locally that you could hire it, and quite a lot more expensive. So when someone owns the engine, marketing just becomes operational. And again, Charles talked that before, just like your payroll, just like doing GST returns. Partners shift from doing to directing. Okay, and that's around you've done their strategy, and then it's about, have what their plan, their marketing plan, is it in place? So it's only really 30 minutes a week, not hours and hours of work. And consistency compounds over time. So the results build. common objectives. So good old accountants, we love to, and I can say that because I'm an accountant, we love to put up excuses. So we're too small. It's only for the big firms to do this, and that's wrong. Absolutely. Like one, small firms should still have goals of growing, scaling, or to doing different things. So if you're not, if you, in fact, it works better for smaller firms. So if you haven't got a plan to sort of look at new clients that you're doing and putting yourself out there as a firm, you really shouldn't be in the business. Tried tools before. So they've tried it before, but it just hasn't, there's been no execution or ownership, and it's just failed. Again, probably a time thing. A lot of the time, we think it's going to be the golden egg, but you've got to invest into it. You still got to put time into it. And another one, of course, is, you lose our voice. We're special. We've got something to say differently from any other accounting firm. And every accounting firm is slightly different. But by doing what Charles is talking about, you get your voice. You get your voice. You've got your partner, strategic side, your business manager, certainly been involved, so your voice is heard. And this one, it's a bit of a long slide, this one. Not many points, Charles, is there, but it is sort of just saying exactly sort of what a typical firm would sort of do. So so let me bring this together and sort of show you what the engine looks like when it's actually running. And to be fair, we actually did this in Findlay & Co. in the day. Because it can feel a bit abstract and you go, oh, yeah, in a perfect world, all this. But anyway, I'll take you through how it could possibly look. So offshore team members runs your marketing, okay? And I want to make that really concrete. Partners, and I want to talk about business managers, not practice managers. We're not practicing, but they set the strategy. So here's what a month looks like for a firm running this model properly. At the start of the month, the partner, business manager, let's call her Karen, funny that, spends about 20 or 30 minutes with her TBR team member. And I'm going to call her Juvie. So Juvie is one of our actually there's a real person called Juvie. Started off in Findlay & Co. She's still working for us now, absolute star. So they agree the content theme for the month. Maybe it's cash flow planning or succession or some sort of seasonal topic we already mentioned. We've got end of year coming up. Karen flags any firm news, a new service, a team member joining, an event coming up. And that's it. That's her main input for the month. From there on, Juvie takes over. They go into Boma, find the relevant content from the library, adapt that intro to the sound that Karen wants, the right tone, the right local references, and build the campaign. Emails are scheduled, social posts queued, and blog post ready. Karen will get a quick review, usually a short, maybe a short email saying, here's what's going on this week, any changes, and she'll might take 5 minutes to review that. Then it goes live. So over the course of the month, 3 or 4 campaigns can go out. Clients are receiving regular, professional, relevant content. Your socials are active and the firm looks alive. It's got a present online and for every single week. At the end of the month, Juvie sends Karen a simple 1-page summary. Open rates, click-throughs, all the sort of small KPIs that you have, any responses worth noting, hey, and maybe some new qualified clients even, and a plan for the next month. So Karen's total involvement across the whole month, maybe an hour, probably even less. This is what working the marketing engine looks like. And it's not about heroics. It's not about late nights, just clear system running consistently. Did you have anything to add to that, Charles, by the way? It sounds a good month, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think we touched on this actually in last, I think that was in the last one, is that this is what, a month can look like. But again, the beauty of, having ideally, well, someone on marketing the whole time, or at least part-time and especially offshore is that, it's not just a month, it is month after month, ideally year after year.
Yeah,
And we see it time and time again with, if you think of, and I'm sure everyone can think of, a few high performing accounting firms that people look to. And yes, they do brilliant work, and their leaders and partners are sort of admired. They speak well. They've got all these other things going on, but a lot of what it comes down to is that they also have they are active in the market. They're doing events, they're doing webinars, their website looks fantastic. They are doing a lot of things for their clients that, many people would aspire to, but often don't have the time or capacity to do. And so, if you do have these ambitions to, I suppose, head in that direction, and often people say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and goodness knows that we at Boma look at some of the big guys like MailChimp and HubSpot and think, goodness me, if we could be heading in those directions, that would be fantastic. You do have to commit both to it in terms of your processes as a firm, in terms of everything that makes you do great client work, but also the other side of it is the marketing and comm side as well.
yeah. Oh, and look, I'll just add to that too as well, Charles, because I had one more point too as well. But when you talk about processes and when we talk about offshoring, okay, your accountants, you haven't really got an ideal process, I guess, for around marketing. Yeah, a few things there. One, your first employee that you take on overseas, that's one of their first tasks. Set a process down. Or two, you spend the money and actually get a professional in and to set a process in place, which we've kind of gone through. It's not really difficult. And we did that ourselves at the back room. We'll put a sales system in and you just spend the money. You write the check out, so they would say. And and I just also want to say, what good looks like. Why do we do this? And when marketing becomes infrastructure and not a fire drill, your firm stays visible without draining your time. Consistency compounds, the right clients start coming to you. Marketing quietly does its job, just sits in the background, and kind of what we're talking about, and Charles has said, and the right people are working on the right things, and that's how you build a business. That's what you're building a business, and one day you're going to sell that business. If you've got this integrated straight away, it's going to look really good. So look, why end of the day, you win new clients and you help clients and you keep clients.
I think well said. Um, Now, look, if anyone has any questions, do feel free to pop them into the Q&A box now. Just while we wait for that, if anyone does have a question, just in terms of next steps. So when we send out the recording tomorrow, we'll also send you out the accounting firm growth engine checklist. So this is a PDF. It will take maybe 5 to 10 minutes to fill out, and it will tell you exactly where the gaps are in your marketing and growth engine. So definitely worth printing out and filling in. Also on the 28th of April, that's going to be our next session. And in that one, we're covering partnerships as a marketing strategy. So basically how they can help you increase credibility in the market, deliver co-marketing opportunities, and also help drive growth of your firm in terms of, new clients and increase revenue. As ever, if you'd like to take us up on the offer of a free strategy call with the backroom and Boma, so that'd be with Scott and myself, you'll find the link both in tomorrow's follow-up email and also in the exit survey, which will be coming up in just a minute. And if you could just spend 10, 15 seconds completing that survey, we'd really appreciate it. Helps let us know how valuable you're finding it. And obviously that helps us deliver value to you in the future. So I'll just check on questions. I don't think I can see any. Scott,
No.
any closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
Just again, you accountants out there, just go and do it. It's an old yeah, it's actions times ideas will always give you results. So just do it.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, definitely second that. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one in late April. Bye for now.